Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to my campaign here in my Grandmaster Round Robin event. The first game ended in a draw, and this is the second round. I'm going to take you through the entire game. I'm just going to tell you guys right now that this game ended, and my friends and I went to get some food. I just got back to my hotel room literally a minute ago, just so you understand the grind. My next round begins in 70 minutes at the time of, like, hitting the record button. Well, the truth is that by the time I finish recording this, I'll probably have less than an hour to prepare for my next opponent. But I'm not being irresponsible, and I promise you, I already have some preparation ready, yeah, the grind never stops. So hopefully you appreciate my efforts. Let's get into the game. I want some Altoids because I need fresh breath for the recording. So, my opponent is a very strong player, Joshua Sheng. All I know about him is that he likes to play e4. And according to his database, against the Caro-Kann recently online, he's been playing hundreds of games of the fantasy variation. So I prepared one brief line in the fantasy in case he played it, but the majority of his over-the-board games and like 40% of his online games are the advanced variation. And here's where it gets tough for me, because I want to play bishop f5, which is what I chose in the game, and like 90% of his games go h4 in this position. So he plays this h4 line, which, by the way, is my recommendation in my own e4 course. Maybe he saw that. Maybe he decided not to enter what I already comfortably know with white. I was ready with something here, but I was also heavily debating playing c5, and in my head, I was like, well, recently I played a training game with c5. He doesn't have a lot of c5 games. But I actually ended up listening to my coach. I was heavily debating which one to go for. Coach said this. He said, you know, we don't know what this guy's going to do after pawn takes pawn. So in surprising him, you might accidentally surprise yourself. So go with what you know, bishop f5. And before the round, I was like, what if he goes for this variation, which is knight f3, bishop e2, the short variation, the critical line of the advanced Caro-Kann with bishop f5, e6, like the modern main line. I mean, everybody is playing this. So I needed to just make sure I got this right, and I made a conscious decision before the game to look at the games of Vladislav Artemyev, Russian Grandmaster, who likes to play this move order and this. So I've never played this in classical. I don't think I've ever played this in blitz either. So this is impossible to prepare, and this is the entire point. With this move order, you voluntarily slide back to g6 and play knight to h6 with the intention of playing knight f5 and replacing your bishop. You also do not develop to e7 because this can trap your bishop, whether it's on g6 or on f5. This is the whole point. It's a very meta strat here, and I was completely on my own, but I figured that he also doesn't play this a lot. So let's just play some chess. He plays the move a4. This is a very common move, and the idea is to take some queenside space. If I play a5 myself, that pawn can become a target with knight b3 and bishop d2. It's a kind of a standard idea in the advanced variation of the Caro-Kann. So I said, you know what? I've seen Artemyev allow them to push and then go like this. And maybe in the future I will play c5. But he played the move c4. And already I began thinking. I thought for some time here, maybe like 10 minutes, and I was debating whether or not, of course I'm not thinking to take, because it just helps him develop with his knight or his bishop. I want my pawn there. I was debating between playing the move I played in the game, which is short castle, or immediately attacking him with f6. And I liked f6 because I was like, well, you know, I can drop my knight back to f7 and pressure this. If he takes, I think I'm pretty happy. I take with my bishop. Maybe he plays rook e1. And I spent a lot of time. And he told me something funny after the game. After I castled and then played f6 versus playing f6 right away, he was like, I don't think it was a very good thing for you to think in this position, because I was just like, if I do this, I don't think you have anything better than castling. And it's actually a fair point. It kind of becomes the same thing. I really didn't have to spend that time. Here I maybe don't have to castle. I can play knight f5, but the point stands. So fair point to him. And I was like, yeah, you know, but I was like looking deep into these variations. A lot of that is superfluous calculation that you don't need to do. And I played the move f6. And so here is the critical moment of the game. If he takes on f6, of course I'm going to take back with the bishop. Geez, that is not a bishop. Wow. Bishop. Why? Because it's all about the e5 square. The entire middle game is going to be decided on whether or not I can liberate my pawn structure. If I can successfully play e5 and open up the board, my rook is going to be on an open file, my bishops are going to come alive, my knight that I put in an awkward square is actually going to jump back into the middle, I'm going to be completely fine, and in all endgames, he will have a liability that he played to a5. Now, he played knight f1 in this position, And I couldn't figure out whether to go here or here, and I was also very briefly calculating, just trying to liberate my position right now. But the reason why I didn't go for this is the very simple pawn capture. Like, you would think that, well, obviously, he just takes this. He just leaves the tension between the knights, because if I take, he takes with the bishop and reinforces his center. And the truth is that this middle game, where I just have a really random pawn in the center of the board, is probably very unpleasant for me. I'm not going to develop much of an initiative, and that pawn is going to stay weak basically for the rest of the game. And if I push it, I will lose the one behind it. Also, I will lose my bishop. So, but if I defend it and somehow push, then I will lose this. So you cannot liberate right away. So what did I do? I played knight f5. He spent some time here figuring out which way he wants to trade my knight. It's my most active piece, and that's his most passive piece, at least between the knights. So he probably should trade knights with me. He chose this move. And here I spent a considerable amount of time again, and after I played my move, I was down probably about 35 minutes on the clock. He had maybe 1 hour and 10 minutes, and I had maybe 40 minutes, slightly below that. I couldn't figure out what to do. I knew that I didn't want to trade my most active piece, helping him develop, stabilize his center, and like, if you look around when you compare the quality of the three pieces, what the hell is this knight doing? Right, this is my problem piece. And I'm hoping to play e5 in the future and trade it off, and then, well, we'll probably just trade all the pieces and it will be a draw. That's my problem piece. But I was like, well, to be honest, if I retreat to d6, what am I doing? I'm hopping around, like, all right, you know, I don't necessarily know what the right idea here is. But I put a little pressure on this. Of course, if anyone's wondering why he's not taking, well, then I just play e takes d5. I no longer have any weakness on the e file. My position is absolutely wonderful. You cannot complain about it. So I played knight d6, and he spent so long here, like 30 minutes of his time. I'm not joking. Literally, I think he spent about 30 minutes. Chess.com doesn't have the timestamps. It's on Chess24, but and maybe some of the other websites like Follow Chess. But he spent like 30 minutes, and I saw the move he played. He played this. And that's when I realized he doesn't know what to do. I mean, h3 actually isn't just like a move, like, you know, you don't spend 30 minutes and play h3, and it's not like you thought about nothing. Basically, it's really hard for him to move something. So his whole point about getting over here and controlling my e5 push, if he plays knight g4, it looks very logical, and then maybe even bishop back to control it with the rook. The point is that by going here, I pressure this pawn. So, like, this is hanging in a lot of positions. It's not very good right now because he would jump out and attack my knight. But the other idea of rotating this way is I can put something on e4. And then I disconnect his rook, and I threaten to take the knight. And that's actually a problem, like, because then what will happen is I will pressure the d4 pawn, and I will take his knight. And then this knight on g4, it's unclear what it's doing there. If it trades, well, then I'm very happy. Hello, that pawn on d4 is very weak. It's basically a battle between central pawns and a central outpost square that I can't really let him control, but more on that later. So when he played h3, I was like, all right, well, he doesn't really know what to do. I'm going to blitz out a move now because the time interval between gap between us was like 5 minutes now. So like, all right, he doesn't know what to do. I'm not going to think for another 15 minutes trying to solve this position. So I played the move king h8. The idea of king h8 was the fact that, let's say we have a position, I'm just very arbitrarily showing you. If we ever get to this, you see what would happen if my king was on g8? It'd be in the way of all things on this diagonal if the queen or the bishop ever made it. So by moving, at some moments I will be able to play this move. Right now I cannot because three things control it, but the idea was in the long run I would take on c4 and I would play pawn to e5. And basically, like, maybe instead of king h8, the computer is just still suggesting I like with the bishop here. My computer is suggesting bishop e7. Like, okay, well, the computer can very kindly, like, piss off, okay? Like, I would say some more vulgar things, but I already cursed in the recap of round number 1. It doesn't know what it's talking about, and even the engine needs to think. It's not at a high enough depth to come up with, like, a meaningful move. So he played this, and then he played bishop d2. And at this point, I'm like, okay, I'm up a few minutes on the clock. The momentum is swinging back to me. I was starting to think my position was actually quite promising, and I confidently slid my knight into the middle of the board. And then I was like, wait a minute. When he goes here, what exactly is my move? Because again, he has stabilized his position, and e5 is still not a move I can really do much on. My original intention after this was to play this move. This is what I wanted to do. And I wanted to take one of the knights, okay? And my bishop maintains pressure here. And then I realized he has just a very simple move here. He doesn't need to... I was calculating knight here, and I was calculating knight here, and I was calculating knight takes bishop. I was like, wait a minute. I'm not threatening to take this. Like, in my mind, I thought he didn't want to double his g-pawns, right? Who wants to double pawns like that in front of their king? And then I went, wait. He just plays one waiting move. What is my next move? I'll give you an example. Let's say I play queen e7. I also play a waiting move. By playing bishop e3, his whole center is super strong, and then he can just start going and doing stuff. And if I try to justify the plan by taking, what exactly have I accomplished? Because in the future, he can go boop, boop, boop. Hello, stupid. Thank you for opening the H file for me. Yes, of course I will punch you in the face when you tie your hands behind your back. I was like, uh-oh. That doesn't look very good. So my original plan had to be discarded because I was like, I'm not actually accomplishing anything. So I thought for a little bit. I was like, okay, I have a couple of options. I can completely blow the center up. Just Molotov cocktail, you know, and just blow it all up. But I just didn't believe in the position. He's got more activity. You can't fight, can't bring 4 people to fight against 7 people unless you got some 4 big freaking people, you know. I was like, he's got too many pieces in the center. I was like, all right, you know what? No, you cannot have my bishop. And then he played another good move, and I was like, I don't know what I'm doing wrong, and I'm slowly getting a worse and worse position. Now, admittedly, King H8, I guess, was just too slow. I guess King H8 was too slow, and computer thinks I should just begin fighting in the center with a move like Bishop E4 faster. Fair, yeah. I mean, I suppose, and taking this and moving my knight to F5. Basically, like something like this, just plopping into the middle and going directly after the D4 pawn. Maybe not in this particular move order, because obviously here there is the pawn hanging, but with the same idea. So one move, one slight inaccuracy, and here he is. You know, he comes in, I play knight F6 looking to trade. He goes after me here. And at this point, I'm like, all right, I'm worse, for sure. He won the battle for the E5 square. He's winning the battle in the center. Now we're both down to maybe like 12, 13 minutes each. So I made a promise to myself here. I'm not going to freak out. I'm not like going to panic. I'm going to stay very close to him on the clock because it's going to be a big part of the game, and I'm going to stubbornly defend. So I plot my bishop out here. I knew fair and well he had G4 here. That was his best move. He's already got a ton of space. He controls the center, so it's very difficult for me to breathe in this position. I said, you know what? I'm going to suck it up. I'm going to play this ugly retreating move, but he weakened his position by pushing in front, even if I know it's the best move. Let's keep it moving. And then here he kind of killed my hopes and dreams because I thought here he would play... I didn't know what his next move was, actually. I was like, man, maybe he'll keep waiting and improving his position slowly to make me self-destruct, and I'm going to go C5. I'm going to blow this thing open. And then he went C5, and I was like, shit. I was like, uh-oh. Now I'm completely busted in the center. I'm not really worried about B7. This is just too far in my territory. I can always protect it. But I'm like, wait a minute. Like, this is actually very, very bad for me. I need to start liquidating. I need to go for a position where we end up with me having 2 bishops. He will have bishop knight, and I will just give him this. I'm not going to hang on to my pawn. I need to trade his active piece. So he takes, brings his knight in, and I'm like, yeah, man, take it. Go ahead and take it. And if he did take it, he would have been up a pawn. But my plan would have been to activate my pieces. And see, this is why I actually like that he played this, because now his king's a bit weak. So I was going to go bishop h4. And then maybe, you know, he cannot play this. His rook suffocates here. I play queen d5. I might swarm the rook somehow. And he basically has to decide to go for this position. This is what he had to do. He had to play into a position where his position is on the verge of overextending, like right on the verge. He can't move anything else forward without overextending. And slowly but surely, he'll consolidate his extra pawn and probably win in the endgame because he has no way to break through now. And I'm going to play moves like bishop g6. Okay, and my goal is going to be to get his knight out of the center so I can take or maybe attack stuff. But he's better. I mean, he's borderline winning. He's borderline winning if he takes my pawn and consolidates. But he didn't like something. He kind of didn't like that after this he has to part with the bishops, and he wanted to keep his stronghold. So he played this move. And that's when it hit me that I'm coming alive. He's got 3 light squared pawns on this side of the board. I have a dark squared bishop. Hello? Bishop g5. Boom, we bang, baby. Now at this point, he's got about 5 minutes. I've got maybe 8, 9, and I'm like, okay, time to put some pressure on. It's my time now. He goes here, and I'm like, you know, he's attacking this, and he wants me to either weaken my light squares beyond repair or completely just entomb this bishop forever. And this is when another move struck me. I was like, I'm going to create some counterplay now. Bishop g5 is standing very strong. I have this beautiful move, queen f6. It looks like there's no threat. If you play bishop h7, it looks like it's completely free. The idea is that the queen is stuck guarding the bishop. So I would slide into f4, simultaneously threatening the pawn and to get in here. And it's very bad. If I get in here, it's over because you normally would play this move, but you can't because you're stuck defending the bishop. And by the way, actually, king h8 comes in handy. You know, it's funny. Like, if my king had been on g8, this would have been check. So actually, his move would have been very smart. But he didn't take. He played bishop back. And it hit me at this point. I'm like, okay, he is going to cocoon. That's his game plan now. He has completely abandoned any plan to win this game. He's going to cocoon. Maybe I'll blunder. I'm like, okay. We're both getting down to about 2-3 minutes now. 30-second bonus every time you make a move, by the way. I probably should say that. 30-second bonus, though. So I play bishop f4 with the intention to take this knight and go here, and then maybe queen h4 as well. He plays bishop g2, very stubbornly defending. I slide in, and I'm like, all right, rook f6, here we go. Here's the game plan. I'm going to bring my bishop out. I'm going to bring my rook out. I'm going to play h5. Let's go, let's go, let's go. And he shocked me here. It's not that I didn't expect this, but he played a move, and I was like, He played this, and it looks like he's losing an exchange. And well, he is. But he wants me to do this because once I take, the only hope I have of winning this position in the long run is somehow chipping away at these pawns. You see, my queen side's completely frozen. My bishop is the worst bishop of all time right here. So how am I going to win this? And I knew there was going to be a big struggle. And part of me, like, wanted to just go back and slowly build up an initiative with my rooks. But I was like, you know what? He's giving me an exchange. I got to take it. And I thought about h5, but it was a bit weakening. And with like a minute on your clock, you're just not certain if what am I even threatening? But the engine is like, play h5, idiot. So I played here. He tries to trade queens, and this is fine. If we trade, I can't win. He's too solid. I have nowhere to break through. He comes back. I go here. He goes to defend. I play bishop g6, and I bring this, and he plays queen e3. And you know, I played like a rook move. I didn't really know exactly what to do. Both have like less than a minute now. He plays king f2. And this is the only place of the entire game where I could have won. And I didn't even begin to see this move. You know, so I can't really be too mad. But here there's a win for black if you'd like to try to find it while I turn off the air conditioner. The win is rook to e4, which on its own might not be particularly impressive, but the idea is that the king is here and cannot be taken, and I slide in my second rook, leaving this rook completely stranded but still unable to be captured, and threatening the d4 pawn. And if he defends it, I take the knight. And the engine is just like, yeah, this endgame is winning because his queen cannot support all the pawns, and his bishop is very passive. And yeah, this would have been the only way to win the endgame, by sacking the rook back for his really active knight, and having a better bishop and a passed pawn, and he has weaknesses. And yeah, with 25 minutes on the clock, maybe I see this move, but I really can't be too mad. And I didn't see it, so we just repeated moves. And if once the king is on g3, there's no way for me to win this position. So big fight. He kind of surprises me in the opening. I counter-surprise him with a line I've never played before. We have a battle that comes down to one small king move being an inaccuracy positionally and giving him just the amount of time that he needed to get a center stronghold. Lot of stuff to learn from this game, honestly. A lot. So I'm happy I picked this opening. Happy I spent the morning preparing my different variations. And yeah, good experience. Probably could have managed my time a little better, but that's typical. So, hope you all enjoyed. We've got 1 out of 2 now, 2 draws, And GM game coming up against Magesh Panchanathon. I'll see you all for round 3.